Appropriate. Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Let's Talk About Dating with Christine Baumgartner and Barry Selby. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We're talking today on Going Solo Media, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. I know. How do you spell bleh?
I think it's got a lot of A's in it, I think.
Yeah. So today, if you saw our image on Facebook, because YouTube didn't like it and wouldn't let us put it up,
Oh, boy.
we're going to talk about body image. And the topic is, it's not all about the cleavage, because I think equally men and women have a challenge with that, with their own body image, and then with what is the other person. We don't know what the other person thinks about their image because we think they think the same as us. And I think that's probably not true. So I am so excited to get both the male and female point of view out in the world today about this, because when I talk to women, first their body image, and you work with women all the time, so you hear about our challenges with our body image for valid reasons and not very valid reasons, but also to truly talk about, from a man's point of view, about your body image and then what you think about what women think, because it's so different a lot of times than what you think we think.
Oh,
you have the inside scoop, so you have to kind of stand back and pretend you don't know the inside scoop, right?
Well, it's kind of like it's kind of like having the what you think and what they think, and I think, and then this layer of thinking. But the other part of this I want to speak to as well is about is the I think we started a conversation about this before we even put the title up, was about the fact that what attracts us to each other, which is a conversation. And so this body image piece ties in because we have a lot of assumptions about what's going to be attractive. And I was sharing something. I was sharing in our conversation with another group about how, live in Los Angeles, definitely have seen plenty of cleavage in my life. It's very overt sometimes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and to be totally transparent, it gets my attention, which may be the whole point. Maybe it's just that's the intention, but certainly as a red-blooded male, when I see a woman's what's it
Decolletage.
Thank you. It was getting the right consonants in the right order.
Yes. And it's such a cool word.
It sounds something more sexier than cleavage, It's fancy, it's French or something. But
yes,
decolletage is the thing for me it's almost like, and we talked about this before about what gets your attention, but what keeps your attention isn't the same thing. And that's the thing, is that part of the woman's anatomy is extremely attractive as a first attention-getting moment for us men. Just the way it is. However, what keeps our attention isn't that alone. And if you keep a man for that reason alone, he's not the man for you either. So it's also getting clear the relationship is more than just that, because unfortunately that part of a woman's anatomy only works to a certain degree, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so we talk about that as well, because it's not just about the body image, it's also about what attracts somebody else and what attracts you. And again, both genders, because there's a lot going on, is because there's a certain thing about men with washboard abs or broad shoulders or this sort of thing as well that men are supposed to have for women to be attracted to them. And yet that may not be what keeps you there. So I want to make sure we include that in our conversation today.
Oh, I think that's so important. And it was interesting when we talked about this as being a potential subject last week, because it was a lot about how do we move through the attraction into a relationship stages. And for the people who don't know, I had the privilege of being a coach for John Gray for the first 2 years of my coaching, and I got to make videos with him. So I'm a big fan of a lot of his philosophies. And one of his philosophies is that men go through stages where first it's physical attraction. I mean, you're not going to spend time with us as a potential romantic partner unless you're physically attracted to us. It's just not going to happen. And then as you get to know us, in addition and in depth, now you become mentally attracted to us. you like how we think, you like how we think about what you say. Then it's emotional. How do we feel when we're around you? How do you feel when you're around us? And then spiritual, whatever that means to you. Where women, the first thing, even if we think you're really cute, the part that really can speak to our heart is mental. We really need to feel that you would have our back. You could be strong if we needed you, that you feel the same way about the world. You find the world important. You can have conversations about the world. You find what we're saying interesting. You are interested in us. We're always saying that. I want him to be interested in me. And we keep thinking all he's doing is looking at our boobs. So then the next thing we have is, after mental, is emotional. How do we feel when we're with you? I've teased about being this MRI scanning, and we're constantly scanning. How do we feel about them, and how do they seem to feel about us? And if we can wait until the third step of getting physically really starting to have chemical attraction to you. And I'm not saying any of this has to take a lot of time. If we just kind of go in this order, the way that John explains it is, then this foundation that we're going to put this chemical, exciting, juicy, erotic, sexual feeling about you, it's built already on these other two important foundations. And then spiritual is the last for both people. And when I tell that to people, they're like, oh, well, I never thought about that. It might be a different order for men. And wouldn't that be helpful to know? And I liked that you were making faces, so I want to hear your thoughts about what I just said. You were like, well, I agree with that. I'm not sure I agree with the whole thing. I think I agree with some of it.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, first of all, I understand what you're saying, and I love John's work as well. However, I thought that it was emotion before thought in the process. Definitely before physical. I always thought that for women, and this is what I came from, my teaching was that a woman needs to know he feels safe for her. Right? Someone that she can trust as well, which means more an emotional and mental process. So I guess in a way, perhaps if we meet in the middle, it's kind of like mental and emotional come first, then physical third, and then spiritual fourth.
Yeah.
So that's one thing comes up for me. For men, there is a lot. I definitely think that it's a lot about mental comes up strong, because a man really wants a woman who likes the way he thinks, like who appreciates him, who says nice things to him, who listens to him, who is not it doesn't emotionally flood him. At least most men don't want that. So they want a woman who has that mental faculty as well. And then the emotional piece too, because it's just as much as a woman wants to find a man safe to be with, it, feel like she's safe with him. He wants a woman who's going to trust him. And he wants who's going to that he can feel strong for, so that she feels safe with him, which is an emotional feeling more than a physical feeling. It's not, and the things a lot of men think they have to get really tough and strong and put on big muscles to become like the hero for her. Oftentimes it's not. It's about the man who can be strong enough emotionally and stable enough so when something goes sideways, he doesn't panic and run.
Yes.
Because there are many big, strong men who run away when things get tough. So
isn't that true? When a woman cries, boy, that's really a downfall for lots of men. Yeah.
So then physical does come into play, of course, because that's part of the chemistry part as well as the physicality that comes into play for both genders. But I think in a lot of ways, the mental and emotional are front and center for both men and for women ultimately.
Oh yeah.
But it's the physical, because and this from Alison's work about men being the hunters, is that we're looking for something that appeals to our needs, desires, wants, whatever that is. And physical appearance is the first thing we'll catch, because we haven't spoken to you yet. So we don't know how you think, we don't know how you feel, we don't know what you think of us. We just know how you look. And so we're drawn into that. And from the work I did with Warrior Sage, talking about how when a woman, and we'll get further into this as we go in, but the body image piece, sidestepping that for a second, because we'll come back to it. Because the way I look at it is that what attracts men to women is how they look, but it's not their physical appearance. I've said this before, it's about the light they shine. So it's how a woman expresses her energy, so to speak, through her appearance. So it isn't just about, yes, there are certain broad categories about like size, height, width, all those different things that men are going to be preferences for, certainly. not all men want a model shaped person. That's to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly few do want that, because that's not
Isn't
enough.
it amazing how much the society thinks that it's this huge percentage, and it's really not.
Right. So, but what comes up though is what attracts, and this is the thing I'm certainly aware of, is how a woman feels in her being. So again, body image has come up. How she owns her space, the way she carries herself, which is what contributes to the light she shines. You know, it's like the way I remember hearing one of the teachers talk about how men are attracted visually, women are attracted energetically, or emotionally.
Yes.
So that's the thing, is that a man's presence is what makes him attractive to a woman. A woman's light is what is attractive to a man. So how she shines a light. So it's like how she carries herself. Does she enjoy being in her body? Does she enjoy what she's wearing on her body? Yes. Earrings, makeup, clothing that she enjoys and embraces having, that make her more attractive, because her joy is coming forward, her light's coming forward, her attractiveness of herself becomes visible, and men go, oh, wow. And I know for myself, I've been around women, again, LA is very interesting that way, who are if they were just in a magazine like pinup, they'd be amazing. But in real life, they don't seem to feel like they're comfortable in their own body. So they're not attractive. As much as they have a body to die for, in quotes, they're so unattractive because they look clunky. It sounds so strange to say it that way, but they don't look like they're fit. They don't own, they don't enjoy their physical expression. They put it on. And certainly I've seen women who do this, who will like pout and push and position themselves in pictures, but when they come on stage, they're like tomboys. You know, they don't have that same energetic when they're in life. So this piece about body image is so, for me, tied together with how a woman feels in her body, energetically and physically, and emotionally as well. Mm-hmm. So I want to put that on the table, because that's a big piece of the conversation, I feel.
Well, and yes, for both sides, because as you said, part of a recap is that when we feel best in our body, we act our best self, whatever that is, our authentic, who we are, passionate, excited about life, comfortable moving around, feeling confident. Mm-hmm. And that we really want to be attracted to men that are confident. Well, when we're confident, we attract men that are confident. When you're less confident, you're going to attract a less confident man, because men like, as much as women think that's the other side, that women think that men don't like confident, independent, strong women. That is so not true. Really good together men like that, as long as there's room in your life for them. So when you're feeling comfortable and confident, I found that the more confident I started feeling, the more easily it was for me to ask for help. Isn't that interesting? Because when I felt, gosh, I'm not sure I could really ask for help because I really can't do that myself, I held my light back. And when I started really shining it forward of, yeah, I could probably do that, or do I really want to do that, or I really don't know how to do that, and who could I ask? And they're like, wow, ask me. I'm so happy to help. So then both of you get to feel like you're exchanging this really positive energy. And the man goes, gosh, I got to provide for her. And she said, thank you. And look at how happy she is with her life. She's not feeling like a victim and all downtrodden. She's coming to me in this really lovely, feminine, powerful way. And he gets to come back in his lovely, powerful, masculine way. And that's just the best.
Oh, yeah.
So this is such a foundational thing about how we feel about our bodies. It has such far-reaching ramifications, good and bad, depending on how good or bad we feel about our bodies.
One of those things is, well, I've seen so many times. Sorry, it was like the sigh comes out.
Oh, I feel.
We know we have stories, but one of the things is that we are so caught up in, I think, largely because of the marketing we have to deal with, all the hype and all the sales and everything else is telling us what is wrong with us. So we're always looking for the next thing, so we don't feel complete. And so a lot of this piece is with body image, especially, is are we at peace with who we are? Even though there's a part of saying, yeah, but when I have this, and when I have this, then when I have lose those last 2 inches, or drop those last 10 pounds, or have that extra muscle, whatever those things are, that we just judge ourselves as being not good enough until that point. Yeah, that's the trap before. So we're never going to get to that point where we'll feel okay because it's an impossible dream sometimes. It's almost like, no, it comes from being happy where you are. The funny side effect is when you really own and love who you are, male or female, in yourself as you are now, what you find is that if it doesn't change, it's okay. And when it does change, it's kind of surprised because your body goes, oh, I can come into alignment with that. And it gets slimmer or tighter or stronger, whatever that is.
For sure.
So it has to be backwards.
Yeah. You know? And that whole thing about I'll be happier when, or feel better when, the part that you and I really concentrate on in our coaching is, how do you feel good enough today?
Yes.
Whatever you weigh, however you look, however you're feeling about yourself, how do we work on today starting to feel better? Because one of the amazing things I found, and I certainly don't promise this for anybody, is once they start feeling better, they do start losing weight. They do start exercising more. It's like trying to put the cart before the horse, that you're saying, well, I'm going to make myself go work out and then I'm going to feel better. Well, you're not, if you haven't dealt with why you don't feel good in the first place. And that's often why people can lose weight, but then they gain it right back. They haven't dealt with the reason they were keeping the weight on. They haven't dealt with the reason they didn't feel worthy enough to lose the weight and to look differently. That's a big sigh too, huh?
Back from my master's degree in spiritual psychology, we talked about this, how the physical and mental and emotional levels in our being is all tied together. Mm-hmm. So if somebody loses significant weight, the framing of the quote they used was, and this is going back quite a few years ago now because it changed a bit, was basically that they said that something like 95% of people who drop significant amount of weight, like 25 pounds or more, 95% of those people are going to put it back put that weight back on all more than 5 years.
Yes.
And because this is one reason why most of the weight loss programs, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, all these different companies have hired coaches because they realized that they couldn't get their clients to stay to the weight they aimed for without having coaching. So they brought coaches in for that. And the recognition is for anybody out there dealing with something on one level, with the mental, emotional, and physical levels all tied together, if you have some drastic change or intentional change or committed change to one of those three areas, you need to, or recommended to, look at the other two areas or other two levels and make sure that you include those in the conversation.
Yes.
So you're working with a coach or working what you're already doing, going to the gym and working out, you got to work with a trainer, but hopefully you work with somebody who understands the mental and emotional components of the exercise. So that way you have everything in alignment as you move to your new goal.
Yes. Or otherwise you're just going to rubber band right back and get stuck back where you were because it's your default setting. You haven't worked on, adjusted, changed, even acknowledged. You have this default setting that isn't working for you. Which,
frankly, is the same thing as with people who don't change their relationship paradigm either. They'll go back in the same again, different relationship. So this applies in both areas.
It really does. It's so, it feels like one of those things, where it's a pond and you've dropped in a pebble and there's all these concentric circles that reach so many areas. So with the title, It's Not All About the Cleavage, we think that it's negative that you like our physical body. We women, a lot of women, not me specifically, lots of women think that. And I keep saying, wow, really? I expected that every man that sat across the table from me wanted to see me naked and eventually get me to bed. I just expected it. I accepted it. We didn't talk about it. Nowadays, people seem to talk about it more in the beginning, but we didn't then. But I just came feeling very sexy and very desired. And I thought that was really a very nice addition for me. I mean, I didn't want to know if they didn't because I was pretending they did because it made me feel really desired and sexy. And the women who don't feel that it's a positive thing have often had some abuse and some hard things happen in their life. And so now that's really important to work on because the world is not going to change. That part of men is not going to change. And how nice that they feel that way. I like it. And I still am very clear that I get to have 100% choice of how fast this is going to move, when I'm going to get naked, if ever, when I'm going to go to bed with them, if ever. It's always my choice. But feeling desired, if you are comfortable and happy with your body, is just like an extra bonus, I think. So that's
Yes.
always where I start with, how do you feel about this normal, natural occurrence that happens between men and women? Let's start there to address it, because if you don't talk about that, we can't build a foundation on anything.
It's true. And
speaking from a man's point of view.
Yeah. How do I respond to that? Well, the thing is, and the reality is, I was thinking, like, in a way that for us men, if we're not drawn to you sexually, why are we going out with you? In a sense, it's like, and not being negative. It's like the reality is that for I mean, I don't know about other men. I know for myself, I have a lot of female friends, and I didn't no desire to go to bed with any of them. Well, most of them. Let's be transparent.
That's probably true.
And the thing, and some of the women I'm attracted to are married, so but I have boundaries with that. I respect that. I'm not saying I'm like going to cheat at the women cheating their husbands. No, but what I recognize is that there are, and I won't say it's categories, but there are certain ways that women are in my life that I find attractive on a physical, sexual level that I don't with other women. And honestly, it's not about the cleavage or the certain thing. It's more than that, thankfully. I mean, I don't think not just me, other men too. But the thing about going on a date is a date has inclusive in the picture where we're going is a romantic relationship, which includes sex.
Mm-hmm.
So some parts of it have yet to be, certainly to be expressed, but also to be included. But sexual attraction for me generally comes up pretty early. And that's, I think, for most men. Because again, focused on the physical, and it's not to diminish anything else or to make a woman feel bad. It's like it's like having that in the air or having that in awareness is like, great. It's like, check, there's an attraction there. Good. Now let's work on the other stuff as well.
Yes.
But so it is, again, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I mean, why not have all four of them on the table at the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately for most of us, some of those things take longer to come forward. Maybe the mental comes forward first and the physical attraction, but the emotional doesn't come forward as quickly, for example.
Yeah. You have to spend often time together for that part.
So sexual attraction up front is okay. However, it's not the only thing. Maybe what's come up is that when women feel like a man's sexually attracted to her, wants to take her to bed, that it's the only thing he's interested in. It just maybe it's just the first thing that shows up for him because it's the quickest thing to be noticed. Because a woman's physical appearance. Nope, this is someone in the background.
Yes, he's been chasing a fly all through the recording. Sorry. Part of being a kitten.
Yes. So the sexual attraction is the first thing that a man is aware of, again, because men are generally visually based. So we see a woman, we don't know what she thinks or how she feels or what a spiritual practice is, but we know what she looks like. So of course, sexual attraction comes first.
Yes.
And that's okay. There's no action yet.
Yes.
Attraction is not action. Let's be clear about this. This is the thing that all women see. And as you were saying, you get to decide the pace. Being the woman, you get to decide the pace.
Yes. Yes. We are in control of our bodies. Please remember that. Yes. So we will be back talking about this really interesting, juicy, fun subject after a few commercials.
Yes. And we're back.
And we're back.
Quick commercials.
Yes, great commercials. So we're talking today about, the title is, It's Not About the Cleavage. It's not only about the cleavage, because we women do think, and I'm going to say it again, that we think that men just want us for our bodies. That's really the depth and breadth of a lot of it, and which makes you so shallow if that was the truth. And
Right.
yeah, there's a few men that are like that. There's a few women that are like that only want money. And the majority of single people out there are not that way at all. They really do want to have a relationship with a whole person. And to reiterate, men's first pathway into sitting across the table from someone or talking to a woman is because you have found us physically attractive in whatever way is attractive to you, which is also because there's so much publicity and, all the magazines and YouTube and reality TV that we women think that we know all men's types. And that is so far from the truth. I mean, I get to talk to lots of men, and they're constantly telling me about the variety of types. I mean, some like tummies, and some like bigger hips, and some like little boobs, and some like big boobs. And I mean, really, it's all across the board. And I keep wanting to really reassure that to women, that there's not a one type fits all at all for men. It's just not. And you're either their type physically or not. And generally for men, it doesn't change. It generally doesn't. It can, but for women, because I always cite that what happened with my late husband is he wasn't any of my physical traits that I like, none of them. I really liked him as a person. I liked what he said. I liked how he thought. I liked how I felt with him. I kept wanting to go back to see him more because of how good it felt to be with him in this emotional way, even though it took me a while to develop the chemistry part. But then I did a lot, and then it was terrific. But for women, it seems to be easier. It seems to be more fluid. It seems to be also advantageous if we do it that way, where you can get carried away with a woman physically and not completely lose your mind like women do. I mean, you can lose your mind a little, but you seem to come back to your rationale faster than we do. I think you have a better capability about that. What do you think from a guy's point of view?
I would say, where do I start with? So on this last part, I would say it's a lot about chemistry as well. And I think women, the chemical reactions they have internally with the various hormones that get released, because I know that with women, there's more of a bonding that shows up in that place, whereas it doesn't happen as much for men. So it's not that we're better at it. We just have less of that chemical in our bodies at the time, so we don't get the same energy response. So that's one piece. Second piece is, right, so quickly, yeah. Well, there's some men that can bond easily too, because it can be more emotional than it can be the chemical level. Mm-hmm. Second piece, just speaking from personal experience, I'm just looking back at some of my relationships, and actually I want to speak to two levels. The physical appearance of the women I was with, I would say, let's pick the last 5 different women I went out with, like short-term, long-term. And they were definitely not the same hair color, definitely not the same height, definitely not the same physical shape, definitely different size breasts, different size hips. It was like they're all different.
Wow.
Which I'm not saying is good or bad, just that's what my experience was.
Yeah.
And so I've always thought, because men's supposed to have a type, and I'm like, do I have a type? And I think, yeah, female.
I love that answer.
With a few more things on top, of course, But also look back at some of those relationships, and this is the part we talk about in a different conversation, is that similar patterns showed up, similar experiences. So even though the physical appearance was differing between the different women I was going out with, there was a through line of common ways of relating that came through. Yeah. Which can be a plus or a minus. And in my case, it was not karmic, but it was baggage I had to learn and to resolve, which is what put me on this path in the first place. So to answer that question, really, we don't have a type or a specific sort, although I do see certain men who have been married to 3 different women who look almost exactly the same. So just to be clear. And oftentimes that was almost, and let's be transparent, the ones I'm thinking of were all trophy wives. Like there were men who basically had all the money. They wanted to have a certain look from their partner because that's the image the men had inside themselves of their perfect relationships. They have the house behind them and the car in front, and then the woman next to them who's like blonde, tanned, and the right shape with the right outfits. Almost like they could transfer the outfits from one woman to the other and be okay. But that's a very that's almost like it's not stereotypical, but it's certainly a small percentage of the population who do that. But for most men, I would suggest that they're not attracted to one particular type. So for women who think that, that's not accurate anymore. So
good to know.
Yeah. There was a third one in there I was going to respond to. And it was something you said after the what men are attracted to before we got into the other piece. I'm like, what was that one? We'll come back.
I do say a lot of subjects all at once. That is what I'm famous for.
Yes.
So for women, to reiterate what we talked about before the commercials, is how to feel your best self, how to get comfortable in your body, how to get comfortable with how smart you really are, how lovable you really are, how lovely you are to be with, really. Because when you can own those, when you can absolutely say with facts, this is who I am and I'm a worthwhile person and somebody'd be really lucky to have me in their life because of all these great attributes about me, then you will pick better. You will attract a higher vibration of a person, a higher caliber of a person in the areas that are important to you. That's what I found. As I got more comfortable in each of those areas, the kind of man that I attracted and was attracted to me kept raising into that same caliber. It was fascinating. I was like, I really do have control over this. I mean, that was the most amazing thing, to keep learning how much control I didn't realize I had, that I really had.
The surprise is amazing.
I know. And to take it in and acknowledge it and then take advantage in a good way with it, where you really are going to attract the right kind of person for you. Oh my gosh, how lovely is that? And that it just keeps making you want to make yourself an even better person. And what I find too is the women that are like extra bitchy and extra harsh and rigid, it's because they haven't done this. They haven't owned all the parts of themselves, the feminine parts, the soft parts, I might need somebody to help me. Somebody asked me one day, we were talking about what sexy things are. And I have to tell you, one of the things I think is really sexy, when a guy opens a jar for me. I just love that. I don't know why. It's always made me so happy.
So not chopping down a tree, but just taking a jar off of a. But yeah, in a way it is. But it's on the spectrum of sort of things. It's like when a man can take care of something for a woman. Yeah. Especially from his masculine strength, it's attractive. So when
muscles flex when you do it. My husband said, I get to be the He-Man and open a jar for you. I mean, he made such a thing about it. But I said, I have to tell you, I like this so much. I had no idea I was going to like this so much, but I really have liked this a long time. So yeah, the way to the ways to my heart is to open jars.
Now everybody knows that.
Everybody knows the secret to Christine. And cook for me. Oh, cook for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, but if I'm cooking, I want you to open all my jars.
Much easier. Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that. I think for me it's almost that. For me it's sharing the cooking. I mean, I enjoy cooking for myself, especially when I come up with things that are really fun. But I'm not like it has to be like perfect. But I'd love to be able to be with somebody who plays in the kitchen as well. Because there's something, once in a while to be able to cook for my partner will be wonderful. That'd be great too. But something about doing stuff together that's teamwork. There's something for me. I mean, I'm all about a team anyway. My idea of relationship. So to cook together, to have fun with it, to make it mischievous too. Why not?
Oh, yeah. Meet each other, dance, stop and dance.
What's the word? Teasing each other to taste the food and everything else is this anyway. Yeah. Moving back into my mind's going somewhere entirely.
Fondue, yes.
All right, back to the topic. So the body image piece, it's true for us men too. I know that there was a thing about how we take care of ourselves before a relationship starts to how we take care of ourselves after a relationship starts, which is one of the things as well. So the way we think of ourselves physically for men and for women, is, do we want to take care of ourselves for ourselves, and do we want to take care of ourselves for our partner, as in to be attracted to us?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dance, because I watch and I've seen people's relationships change and evolve, where their physical appearance for both partners goes awry, so to speak. I'm not saying this is downhill, but goes awry. Like they both get heavy or something like that from when they first got together. So the body image piece is almost for some people the gateway. That in fact that they are more concerned about using the cleavage or the looks or the tough guy look for the man or whatever it is to get in the door. But once they're past that point, they give up. So that's one of those things as well, is what is your self image about before, during, and even after the relationship? Do you really take care of yourself along the way? Because the thing that I'm passionate about with my clients and with my work is that you're the one that loves yourself the most, ideally, even more than your partner does. So what you would do with that is like cracks me up. So, but it's a recognition. Yeah, right. The recognition of the fact of the choice points that we do enjoy and embrace and present ourselves. Because the thing is the same. I mean, yes, back to the question, the topic at hand about for women with cleavage. It's like women. Do women hide it when they go out on dates? Do they just don't even bother worrying about it, or do they put it out front and center? No pun intended.
Yeah.
But the recognition,
like the different.
Fun. Well, okay, fine. I wasn't hiding it that much. But for men, it's like, do we wear dress shirts that flatter us? Do we wear dress shirts? Do we wear jeans that make us look fit or slim or whatever it is? Do we wear dress shoes or flip flops? We have not necessarily examined ourselves as men about what we look like when we go out with somebody. So sometimes women don't feel as respected. In fact, there's a whole other conversation we get into about the equal effort put in to attract each other. So the cleavage is part of the conversation, but it's the same thing for men in ways like, do we dress in ways that are attractive versus like we're going to wear like wife beater t-shirts because we want to show off our muscles? Is that going to be more to try and get more attention? So both genders have opportunities to improve the way they look, but also to be attractive, not necessarily to show off. But that's an interesting corollary, the two of those things together, about being attractive, but also not pushing it so much that you're like, let me be blatant about this. Because I see women who basically do dress up, revealing so much cleavage. It's like, okay, I can't take my eyes off them, but I don't know who you are anymore. Because all I see is cleavage,
Yes. It's very distracting.
When it works against you, ultimately.
It's distracting. It doesn't help them get to know you as a person at all.
And I got to be careful with this, because some men are going to be like, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. and the truth is that when a woman's dressed like that, why not save that for the third date or the fourth date? Why not like build up to that? Because then it's like the man's even more attractive. It's almost like being so up front, again, pun intended, being so up front coming out that way from the first date is almost like there's nothing left after that. Like you've shown so much up front and there isn't anything behind it, so to speak. So it's almost like you want to build to that point. So maybe be more inclusive without being overt with your physical presentation. Look attractive, but don't like go ta-da.
Yes.
So he can go, wow, she's attractive, and I like who she is.
Yes.
And then as time goes by, maybe you wear, say, the sexy outfits for like either at home or for the third, fourth date, when the one man's going, what are you in love with this woman? And then she looks like that as well.
Wow.
That's like, so there's a way to do it as well.
Yes. And that's such a good point of literally and figuratively, what do you want to lead with on the first date?
Right.
On the first meeting, do you want to lead just, because if it is, it's going to be just your chest, because it is hugely distracting. I have trouble looking away when somebody's very bosomy and there's lots, looks like it's going to fall out any minute. I'm like, wow, how are they holding that all in there? It's amazing.
True.
So are you using it as a shield? Are you using it as a cover-up? Are you using it as a distraction? Do you think there's something you need to hide? Is there something that you aren't feeling very confident about, that if they didn't just get distracted with this part, that they would think that you weren't smart enough, or the rest of you wasn't pretty enough or skinny enough, or whatever the enough is. It's very telling, I think, when it's what you lead with. What do you lead with the first of is your skirt really short? Because that's another thing that can be really distracting. I'm happy if you've got really great looking legs. You can show really great looking legs without having it be really, really short. I mean, you can tell, oh, the rest of it's going to be pretty. Don't have to show it right now.
Right.
And then when you also talked about the changing our physicality after we're together, that if your really reason for getting more fit or losing weight or building up muscles is to get a relationship, it probably is going to go away after, because that was the reason you didn't. You didn't do it to feel better. And so many people, when I talk to them, when their body has changed after, they're like, yeah, I don't feel physically as good, emotionally as good, mentally as good. And they made that change for not themselves. Right. It's not a sticking reason. It's not a reason to stick with this lifestyle if you didn't do it for yourself. Because that's how we are. We go, I want to reach this goal. I reached the goal. I don't have to do this thing anymore, which is keeping fit because for a relationship. Well, you're in the relationship. And I've heard people say this out loud. Well, I didn't have to try anymore. Really? This is the person supposed to be the love of your life. You want to spend the rest of your life together and you don't want to try? Really? And you're spending the rest of your life with yourself and you don't want to try? I just think that's so sad.
True. It is it's one reason why a lot of relationships do end in divorce, because one of the partners or both partners give up on who they were when they started. I mean, it's what happened to the hopes and dreams at the beginning of the relationship, on your first date, when you're so excited about each other because that is so much attraction. And as I said, it's like if you're only leading with that one attribute for women or for men, whatever that one is for you, whether it's cleavage or for men, biceps or abs or whatever it is, something that may change over time, or if that's all you're presenting, then you're going to get bored eventually. You can't be fixated on the one thing for the whole of your life. It's going to basically dissipate. When it dissipates, what's left? Mm-hmm. You're not taking care of yourself, or you're not doing things that keep you in good shape because you value your physical body. Because frankly, if you value your physical body, you tend to live longer, which means you have a longer relationship possibility.
Yeah.
You become a slob, so to speak. If you want to be that extreme, then the quality of relationship is going to diminish. You don't have the energy to do things together. And it's like when you want to get together, you want to start going running or go hiking together, and you haven't got the energy for it because you're not taking care of yourself.
No.
I mean, this plays a lot of areas. So the choice point you make at the beginning is something you're willing to maintain independent of the relationship, because if you're willing to do it independent of the relationship, then you will do it during the relationship.
Yes.
So yeah.
And what's fun is if you find somebody who feels the same way, they're doing it for themselves and they think it's fun to do it with somebody else. Then if you both have that attitude, you'll keep each other inspired. Because, there's days when you're like, oh, I don't feel like going for my walk today or my run or something. And the other person's like, oh, come on, we're going to go do this together. I mean, that's always nice. I've always liked having a walking buddy because we keep each other motivated. And how nice to have that as a love partner. I mean, that's the best.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my morning hikes I do in the morning now because it's easy for my day. But if I'm with somebody who wants to do it in the afternoon, I'll move schedules because it'll be fun.
To have somebody to go with, yeah.
Well, because, I mean, the thing that's great about that is, I mean, admittedly, I do use a lot of things on my walks, whether it's like listening to radio or podcasts, or I'm on a clubhouse room when I get reception, cell reception on my hikes. But I'd swap that for the company of a loved one, absolutely, every time. Yeah. With so much joy and fulfillment in doing that. And I mean, that's the thing where I love, you've seen my post on Facebook. I mean, I love taking pictures of what's around me when I'm on the hikes. There's so much thing to see. Yesterday, when I saw the hawk, like right in front of me, hawk, not falcon. The pictures I took were just so perfect, but it'd be so much nicer if somebody's next to me who I know. It's like, cool, we can look at it together and be so much joy in that moment. And I recognize that it's almost like using social media as a substitute for somebody to be with at the same time. Yeah. But that's the thing, is that there's something wonderful about shared experiences. And one of the benefits of a relationship is shared experiences. So why not exercise together, get fit together, cook together, do things together that may not necessarily be as much fun, but are important for your own health. And if your partner does it too, and you enjoy it together, that's a triple win.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because it's not just double, because it's each of you are having an experience and then you're having an experience together. So it really is triple. People don't always understand that until they're in the middle and they go, wow, it's like even more fun. I go, yeah. I remember Robin Williams saying once when they asked him what he thought about acting, he said, it's more fun than fun.
That's a good way of putting it.
How we feel about coaching and talking and helping people, right?
Absolutely. Very fulfilling.
Yes. So Cece saying we need to stop talking about cleavage now.
Bummer. Oh, dear.
I know. It was such a fun subject to talk about. I'm sure we can figure out how to bring it up again someday.
I think we come up some ways.
Guaranteed. So if you have questions about this talk or anything in your love life or your relationships, trying to find a love relationship or in a love relationship, and you'd like to talk to either one of us, the way that you get a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. You can click on what's holding you back from love, and we can have a complimentary conversation together. Or you can send me a direct email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And you can also find my videos and my blog posts through my Facebook group and through LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Pinterest. I didn't miss any? Okay, good.
No.
Good job.
And
how can they get a hold of you, Gary?
Well, if you wanted to talk to me, similar thing. If you have any questions come up because of this topic or for any of the topics we talk about, or if you want some help clarifying what you want, or how to find ways to love yourself more, because that's becoming more and more message in my work. You go to my website, which is barryselby.com, and you can definitely check out what's on there. There's a couple of buttons on the front page. When you click on to get in touch with me, set up a session to discuss where you are, like a complimentary chat, which is my gift to you. You can drop an email to me at barryselby.com. And I'm all over social media. So you can check out my 1,100 plus videos. Yes, 1,100 plus videos on YouTube. If you find me, is it on YouTube? It's Barry. If you're looking for me, it's Barry Selby on YouTube, on Twitter, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, and on Clubhouse. And on Facebook, it's Barry Selby, the author, and on Instagram, where I'm doing a lot more posting now because Instagram is getting much bigger for me. If you go to the real Barry Selby on Instagram, you can find me there. I think that's everything. Yes.
Yes, we have to count them on our fingers, huh?
I know, it's so many.
Well, please join us again next Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern on Let's Talk About Dating with Christine and Barry, and we'll have another equally fascinating subject to talk about.
No, we will. We'll see you then.
Always. Bye for now.